Well, morning, everybody. The morning show on Bahamas News Network. I'm accompanied today by Jeffrey R. Davis, and we wanted to talk about what's in the papers. And one of the most important things that's vexing the most Bahamian people right now is power, lights being on. And for over 20 years, we've been discussing what's wrong with why can't we keep the lights on in this country? We say we want to be a tech city in Grand Bahama, which is great. But if you can't get electricity down to 20 cents, can't get it down to 7 cents, how are you going to compete for tech when the rest of the world has affordable, reliable energy? Because without affordable, reliable energy, you have nothing. You can't grow food without a water pump to pump the water, unless you're going to go to a pitcher pump and water 2 pineapple. But if you're serious about growing volume of food, it isn't going to happen. You can't have tourism. You can't have mammoth hotels, which the boutique is probably the better model. But with the WTO, who knows what we'll be owning, or what will be reserved, or what industry will be left for Bahamians. And in the papers today, you see that we're saying we're going to get tough on hiring foreigners. So we take $70 million and we let go of all of our power company employees. We may give them packages. But then you turn around, and in the paper today, if you look, and if we can bring up the screen for you and show you the hires. And I mean, the positions we're hiring, it's the same positions we just got rid of. Why would we be let me pull it up for you to take a look at in the screen. You mean to tell me that you had to fire Bahamians and now you have to hire dispatchers? That's insane. Right there, where you can see it. Let me zoom in a little bit, because if you don't cry, you laugh. Right there, you can see dispatchers. Finance assistants. You mean we've sent people away to school for who knows how many years now, and to be financial experts, but we got to get some financial assistance from away. Where do these people come from? Jamaica? A human resource officer. See it right there? You mean we have nobody that could do human resources? We could fire we let go plenty of people in the banking sector, and they had many human resources. A utility man? Charge hand? This is field, this is line workers. These are the people we just got rid of. And so we want to hire them again? See it right there? Look at the credentials. I guess you got to speak Creole or Patois or whatever. That might make sure the Bahamian never gets a chance at it. And then we have too many foreign hires. Well, I agree. The Prime Minister is always on point. We always have too many foreigners doing jobs in the Bahamas that Bahamians can do. And maybe we need more training, but we haven't focused on education the way we should have. Jeff Davis, what do you make of this? Too many foreign workers, and then you fire Bahamians and hire applications at BPL to hire more foreign workers.
Well, Graham, it's good to be here on the BNN, Bahamas News Network, once again. I appreciate that our country is in quick transition from formerly a nationalistic community, a very small nation, became independent in 1973 with only 150,000 people. Mm-hmm. And now we're budgeting up to 400, 500,000, 500,000. And so now people are getting very excited to bring more and more and more. Our borders are open. We're signing agencies onto big international networks such as the WTO. And there's a lot of talk about globalization. I want to say, Graham, that the globe has always been what it is. Mm-hmm. We've always had the name of the earth the shape of the earth is called geoid shape. The earth has always been geoid, considered the globe. Mm-hmm. And so we've always had boats and planes and internet now over the last 20 years to get us access to any market in the world. Mm-hmm. But we've had some restricting policies and restricting laws that limited Bahamian access to foreign capital. But when it comes now to our utility companies, we are losing them one by one. The names are being changed, and we lose confidence in it because we show a history of an inability to provide energy for businesses, for homes, for our safety, and for our development as a nation.
Do you think we're frustrating it to sell it? Remember what happened with our phone company? We had blackout, we had problems, and then was like, well, sell it because we can't run it. And we gave away one of the utilities that we actually, our grandparents put money into. Now, our communication has been given to the hands of foreigners. Now, are we going to do the same, frustrate our power company, and then turn that over to some foreign entity, or maybe have Bahamians fronting for foreigners, which is the same thing?
Yeah, what is so devastating at this point in our national development is that it appears that big oil is bigger than a small country, Graham.
Oh, wow.
And we're supposed to have oil even in the ground of our nation at 22,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
The company that has the excavation rights for our oil is BPC, a foreign company. BPL, sorry, Bahamas Petroleum.
No,
BBC, I'm right.
Bahamas Petroleum Company, yes.
Yes. Notice it now. BPC, BPL. All you need to do to the Bahamians is name the foreign company with the word Bahamas or Bahamian, and then you've got them. They believe it's ours.
Because we believe it's ours.
Yes, because they're using our name.
Wow. You know, let me show the Bahamian people. Right up here, you can actually see that. You can actually see New Providence. And I don't think many people have ever known how we get electricity, where it comes from. Well, there's two places in New Providence that make power. And for over 40 years, I've called ministers of environment, many of them, and have them on audio recording on the Guardian radio. You see where the mouse is here? This is Lyford Key. This is Lyford Key. And if you look, this is where we make our power. Used to make most of our power from when we went independent and we put in a large power generation station. This is Clifton Pier. And what you are seeing here, I'm going to zoom in. You're seeing an oil tanker. This is where fuel comes in. And if you look at it, there's your oil tanker. And what happens is the fuel gets piped in to the power company. And I have some photos that I didn't bring today, but I will bring in the future, where you can see that we've known for over 40 years that these cylinders that store the fuel, and these cylinders, some of them allegedly have the spent fuel, for lack of a better word, the bunker C sludge. We also know that there's all kinds of petrochemical out here. One of the ministers said it was a combination of diesel, gas, aviation fuel, and bunker C. And we've known it to be getting into the ground here, and it's contaminated, and we need to know how much has gotten into the ground. And what we have done that people can see is, if you follow where this mouse is, you'll see a wire right along here. I'm going to zoom in for you. See this wire? See this stuff in here that looks dark? What is that? There's no reef in here. There's no reef. This is not reef. We need to know what this is. I took a travel down here, Jeff, and I stood along here where the mouse is, and I took a photograph of this. And some kind of very bad smelling chemical like fuel oozing out of the rock here. You can smell it. You can hardly it takes your breath. And this is the leaking fuel, and we have this boom. It's a rope that, see the white part here where you can see it out of water? Because obviously waves were crashing when the photo was taken. And this white line continues. And so what we've done now, or appear to be doing, is putting a concrete wall along here to try and hold back whatever's here. I need someone to come clean and tell us what was really done at Clifton Pier. What we need an assessment. And I hate to bring in foreigners, but to keep it honest, I think we need to have best practices, someone from Canada, Germany, Europe, and America. 3 independent, non-biased studies to tell us what's gone out here at Clifton Pier And if oil has been getting into the ground, or petrochemical, or bunker C, or avgas, do you not think it went out here to our fish at Golden Key? Do you not think it went from here? If you zoom out further, Andros is right next door. See Andros? Do you not think it went to Andros? Do you not think it got in this ocean and contaminated these waters? Do you not think that we eat these fish is a possibility that we're eating fuel? Because we have the highest cases of cancer in the world. It's not because we eat fast food, believe me. It's not because we have some peas and rice and mashed potato. It's because we've had fuel leaking into the sea and we eat sea life. And so it has been reported by people that do charter boat fishing that you see this fuel coming from around by Lyford Key into the part out here on the north coast. We've even had fishermen tell me that they see it almost going to the Berry Islands up here, all out here. On calm days, they see oil slicks. Is it coming from this plant? I can't verify that. But where else would it be coming from? We know it's leaking at the plant. How much? No one's telling us. So this is old power stations. These are the ones that are failing, that are operating at a small percentage right now. And this is the ones that we seem can't to get it right. These are the generators that were purchased in the, remember that BEC bribe deal? We purchased some generators. Mm-hmm. Were these the generators? Someone needs to tell us. We need a real Ministry of Environment that really is concerned about this getting into the ground and possibly hurting our Bahamian people. On top of that, we have known for gas stations to be leaking diesel into the ground where Bahamian people have to, where we live. Look at right by Cable Bahamas, okay? We had a gas company there, Texaco, that was allegedly leaking. But it's not really alleged because the people in the area smelt it and the Cable Bahamas had to move out of the building into the mall. You remember this?
I lived in that area.
Oh, you lived in the area. Mm-hmm. So if you were leaking fuel, how much fuel? And was that the only gas station leaking? Because I've seen all the gas stations, most all the gas stations having their tanks taken out, and one, I saw a huge hole in it. I actually documented it. So that was in the harbor. So have we been leaking fuel into the ground? Are we poisoning our people? Now, the second place that we make power in this country is in the middle of the island on Blue Hill. And I would challenge you as a Bahamian citizen, you may want to this weekend take the drive after church and go down Soldier Road. At the end of Soldier Road, you will come and you can go Blue Hill Road. But if you go down to the end of Soldier Road, I'm going to zoom in so you can see. This is our, you see it says Blue Hill? This is Blue Hill Road. When you come over the hill at Blue Hill Road, you go down to that traffic light with Soldier Road. And let me zoom in a little more. This is Blue Hill Road, and this is Soldier Road. If you continue through the traffic light, which most of us never ever do, and you go west down that road, you will come to a security booth right here. You will not go into here because it is not permitted. You will then turn, you're going to Waterworks, and you'll come down this road. And when you come down that road, this is Waterworks at the end of that road. But before you get to the end of that road, there's a dirt road you will pass. You can go down this dirt road, or you can continue and go down the back dirt road. The back dirt road will give you an excellent view of the power station. We used to have a handful of generators. You see the blue generators here? 1, 2, 3. You see the bigger generators? Those were enough power, but at some point we started burning more energy by not allowing duty-free or lower duty on air conditioning that burns less fuel and making the mini ductless air conditions the cheap ones that burn more fuel. So we need to have a discussion on energy efficiency, because there's an air condition that only burns 20 watts a month, as much as a fan. And then there's one that burns hundreds of dollars a month. Guess which one's cheaper? the one that uses more fuel. And so by buying that air condition, we needed more power for it. You see, it's a plan. Make sure we use more things that use more power and not efficient, so we'll sell more fuel. So instead of having those few handful of big generators, we decided to put in 40 little generators. See them here, Jeff?
Wow.
Wow. Each one of these is a 20-foot container, trailer, to chip stuff. Not the big one, but the smaller one, the 20-foot. And this is 40 little generators. You can count them. And they're all tied together trying to keep the power on. And on the other side of the power plant, which you cannot see except from Google Earth, we have another 40 for you. See all these little generators? Each one of these you're renting. Now, what's good about these for the people that sell fuel? The little generators burn more fuel than the big generators. The big generator, the wheel spins slow. Bang, 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 bang. Sipping fuel. The little one is like the one we see at the fish fry. Brrr, sucking fuel. High revving. It's like your car. Instead of 1,000 RPM, it turns 3,000. It sucks more fuel. Now, how much are we paying? Because what we did, instead of putting in new generators when the other ones went bad, the big ones, we rented the little ones. You know how we kick it in the Bahamas. We get a contract. Put a RFP, a request for proposal. It is alleged, and I need to know if what I'm hearing and being told is true, that we're spending as much as $1 million a month on all these little generators. And fuel on top of that. So that's why your fuel surcharge goes up, because you're burning an engine that burns more fuel. Let's get the one that burns less fuel. And so here's the biggest problem. If you needed a 5 kW generator for your house, would you buy one big 5 kW? Or would you buy 5 little 1 kW generators and start all of them and try to make them run? And so what's happening, Jeff, I'll wrap up with this. We're stuck on stupid. And I'm going to zoom out to show you something else that we need to talk about. Do you see where this is? This is in the middle of many people. You see the population here, Jeff? Mm-hmm. What is the pollution coming out of 80 little smokestacks that are about 30 feet above ground? Are the people in this area breathing in toxins, making us sick? Your thoughts?
Wow, Graham, I really appreciate that aerial view. Technology and Google really brings it home. We have had the dump site in the middle of the island, New Providence.
More
and we have
pollution.
The oil production trying to give us electricity. It's obviously rather poor planning as the community grew. But I am sensing something else, Graham. Let's talk about clean energy, LNG. Apparently there is a plan for a certain special interest group to put in the new LNG energy. So as they sell the old plant, then the new energy providers would be the very privileged Bahamians who are...
So is this why the board was fired? Did we fire the board because of this?
Well, I don't know. I cannot speak to that as much as we know that we see hirings and firings in our nation. There's tremendous displacement of our people in the culture, in the economy, in the community. We are being displaced. The Bahamas, especially in New Providence, is a melting pot, while Freeport seems to be just disintegrating as a place of chaos, unemployment, and pain, agony, and suffering. We have a nation then, after 45 years, we really need to do some house cleaning, some reimagining of how we do business. And certainly we need cleaner energy. But we, as a nation, we have oil off of Andros. And so there's a company called Oban, said they're doing an oil refinery. Notice, Graham, the progression. The Bahamas government passed a new Petroleum Act in 2016, just before the election of 2017.
Right.
It's a new Petroleum Act, a new energy company coming on board, say they're going to refine energy. And Freeport has tremendous carcinogens and tremendous attrition on the health of his community around Hawksbill, Barco, and the industries that were so heavy in Grand Bahama or the Hawksbill area.
And that brings up another question I had for this. Is there fuel leaking? Has there been fuel leaking? We know it's leaking. We can see it from the air. Are any of these tanks leaking or have been leaking at Blue Hill?
Well, there was a leak recorded some years ago in Carmichael Road.
Mm-hmm.
A family reported that oil was in their backyard.
Yep.
Remember? So
Yep.
we need to.
Where was that oil coming from? Because this is near Carmichael.
I think one of the lines. I was thinking that one of the lines
Got severed.
that brought line, and somehow the disruption took place, and it settled because that's how it is. Liquid don't melt all the time. If the rock limestone is hard, it'll stay alive. But if it's very sandy, it will get absorbed and it gets into the water table, of course.
So what is the way forward? Because we know we've had leaks in the country, right? What is the way forward? We need a short, a medium, and a long-term plan for energy security in the country. And we talked about this for 20 years. I spoke to Mike Smith 20 years ago on from ZNS, Mike Smith. He interviewed me on this. And if we look at the map once again, right, we know that we need a grid. And when people say grid, it's just a fancy word to say all of the wires, the transformers, and the lamp poles, etc. You notice from Clifton Pier, way out in the west, out here, if you drive to Bahamas here, you've seen some new lamp poles. The big galvanized lamp poles that are hurricane, tornado proof almost. We need to continue that from the west side to the east side of the island. So down the middle of the island, like your backbone, would be these powerful poles that cannot be taken out easily. And then from those, we need to come down the pole and go underground and branch off, kind of like how your ribs do from your spine. And those are the subdivisions and the homes and the businesses. We need to redo all of that here because it's been something that's been here from the 1950s and then just added on to and pieced together and made bigger. It's in dire need of repair. So we're going to have to pay for it. It costs money. How do we get the money to do it? Simple. And if someone asks you how are you going to pay for it, that's probably the person you don't need anywhere near or around the discussion, because it's one of the richest countries in the world. But before we get to how to pay for it, that's the grid, and that needs to be done immediately. Start working on that now. Putting in the backbone, because that's the easiest one, right? Trenching and putting everything underground is going to take time, years. But get the main structure up and running. You can't start saying, I'm going to work on my fingers, but you haven't fixed my spine. You have to get the backbone in place. Now, energy. We have to immediately get this fixed within 3 weeks. We need to get some kind of cleaner fuel than burning diesel in the middle of the island that's very expensive fuel. And Bunker C at Clifton Pier that's cheaper but corrosive and toxic and will kill you and whatever fish that comes into contact with. There's been suggestions, and I think John Boswick, I'm going to give him the credit. He said you could have, in no time at all, you could float a barge into where Arawak Key is. This is the new Arawak Key. And this is our land out here, by the way. So we forbid this to be given to somebody for the use of any kind of power without a referendum to ask us. But you could put a barge right in here. See where these barges are? You could put multiple barges in here. This is across from Saunders Beach, but not near Saunders Beach, so not as to obstruct tourism in the beach, right? This is further in by the rock. You can't see it from the road easily. And you can put power right here. LNG, liquefied natural gas, right? And you can bring the barge, and you can bring the fuel, and the company will supply the whole total package for about 20 cents a kilowatt hour. We're paying 30 and 40 cents now. You could cut the light bill in half, and you could have clean, sustainable power there. But I don't want to keep renting a barge from somebody. That's a short-term fix. in addition to that, you cannot just have one spot to generate power, because you could have a tidal wave come in here and destroy that. I'm not saying it would, but I'm saying that station could be compromised, whatever, through act of terrorism, whatever. You then need to go back out west where Clifton Pier was, and you could put, you could put another LNG barge out here, put 3 or 4 of them, and connect them to the grid out here. So you'd have left and right on your island. So if one got damaged, you could switch the power to the other one, so you'd only have a blackout for maybe 5 minutes, like first world countries. I actually had someone tell me something over the weekend that blew my mind, because I don't approve of it, because I don't want nuclear power. But they said to me that where Clifton Pier is, they could put nuclear submarines from Russia there, and you can use the power generated from a nuclear submarine, and when bad weather came, just sink it. But we're not going down that road, okay? You do the LNG, that's your quick fix. You start working on the backbone, the grid, that is needed no matter who generates the power and what source, and then you move into renewable energy.
Yeah, they're floating renewable energy around the world now in inland water bodies in a number of nations in Korea.
So you're talking Killarney?
And in China. Well, that's a tremendous water body that we have there. But the idea there is, a guy like me, when I came into renewable energy about 2011, I designed a product that I'm working on now to get more aerial use rather than land use of solar energy. And you've seen the drawings.
So go vertical,
yes.
Go up, instead of spreading over the land.
So,
and
go ahead.
Your drawings are very interesting. You should pursue them too. But you have all these government buildings that should be getting solarized right away.
Yes,
why cut down trees when we have rooftops that have already been cleared?
Yes, we need to have a distinct policy for public solar consumption and then the private sector. We need 2 different solar approach to reduce the impact and influence of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and to cut the cost of fuel consumption in government usage. We have many schools and parks and roads and docks and of course lights. Any place where there's a government agency, a hospital or clinic should have some solar on the roof. Then of course in our private homes and our private businesses, we should have a reduced cost of all solar peripherals that could make it very attractive for people to have solar energy ground. So one good thing about the WTO, we could bring in the WTO nations solar array and get them on our roof now without our government getting a dime in duty. You see what's happening? We are holding the nation hostage until other people own the economy. That's the danger of the Bahamas, the way we have it. Years ago, Leslie Miller, and I thank God for him, he had the energy, had the interest of the Bahamians at heart, and he had a company called the AES Corporation, willing to provide
2008.
Willing to provide energy on Bimini, of course at Ocean Key. Today Ocean Key is going to become a new cruise port ground, and it's going to be a place where some new business will take place, owned by foreigners, of course.
Well, then we won't benefit from that at a high percentage.
Well, in
we
Bimini,
may get a job to rake the beach.
In Bimini, of course, we may take some straw work down there or do a couple of other things, of course. We get a little security jobs and other things of that nature, and probably perhaps take some people out of who want to go fishing, but they'll be owning an island or leasing an island called Ocean Key that was formerly Sandy Key. Apparently everything in the Bahamas, Graham, we keep the natural name, the historic name, the cultural name, and then when we sell it, it has a new name as if something is so new. I'm glad they changed Hog Island to Paradise Island. That was a good idea.
And then it was gone. Can you read this from one of our, because you're a better reader than I am.
Here's the text from Michael Adger.
Yeah.
From the gentleman. Poor people are seen as impulsive spenders, and because of the hemorrhage of cash income, the rich people, who I will refer to as parasites, will latch onto them and won't let go. So don't ever ask about lowering anything for the poor. They must be suckered dry by the rich 1%. It's the nature of things in any democratic society that has a capitalistic doctrine governing their way of democracy. Sound crazy? Well, it is. Communist regimes had it right. No rich, no poor. The people own the state, and the state is governed by the will of the people. Thank you.
Well,
Right.
communists had it right. I don't know. You have to look at that because the nice thing about communism, everybody was equal, right? And everybody had the same carton of egg and toilet tissue, except for the leader. The leader, he had a gold-plated crib and jet. So communism is great until you run out of other people's money to spend.
Well, in China, there are 600 million
There you
Chinese
go.
who live in rural conditions dominated by poverty and
Yes.
communism.
Yes, but we taunt how great they are. Interesting. You know what, Jeff? I don't think there's much more we can say about energy security. We should have had solar. We could have had solar years ago, okay? 20 years ago when people had money, we could have done solar. Now we've signed every agreement in the world and they benefit us if the politicians understood them. You have COP21, Copenhagen, you got the United Nations in New York. We signed all these agreements, EPA, European Partnership Agreement from '08. And they say if you continue to run diesel and bunker C, these polluting fuels that put out smoke like jitneys, you know, the black smoke, some of them are invisible and more deadly, that you're going to pay a fine. So that will be another charge on my light bill. It'll be a fuel surcharge and it'll be an environmental levy of some sort for the European Union. And that's unacceptable when we could do the same thing Florida's doing right next door with natural gas and solar. And you know what? In 2008, that AES corporation with Leslie Miller, we had a senator, we had an environmentalist that said it could blow up and kill everybody. Now that's 13 miles away from Bimini.
Actually, 15. That's
15.
correct.
And Rose Island is not even a few miles away from Nassau. And if a propane cylinder blew up there, it's not killing people in Nassau. But now we want to put this plant right by the fish fry.
Well,
LNG.
Well, Graham, in Boston's Harbor is an LNG plant. There were 27 LNG plants in the world, and there was a proposal for one at Tractor Bell in Grand Bahama, Hepburn Town, and of course one for Bimini. It never came to be, but all of a sudden now it's
okay.
desirable for New Providence. The point about LNG is that it's very biodegradable. Although all oil, all energy is explosive. Or has the potential to be hazardous.
Yep.
But LNG, when it's waste, is very biodegradable
And stable.
Yes.
But the thing is, to say it wasn't unstable 10 years ago when we could have had our light bill lowered by Leslie Miller and what he was planning, right? And now to come full circle to say it's a great thing is an insult to me and any other Bahamian. And I'm not political, I'm independent. I ran independent, so before anyone throws that out there. And that was 2012.
Graham, do me a favor, share with the audience about the SEER, the low SEER air conditioning, more efficient air conditioning, just a bit.
Well, there's something on your air conditioning unit called S, as in snake, E, as in egg, R, as in rats, because they don't teach us this. SEER, Seasonal Energy Efficiency Rating. And what does that mean? It's the yellow sticker you see on refrigerators and all the appliances when you go to buy them. There's a big yellow sticker on them.
Okay.
And if producer pull up SEER, he probably see it. So when you have this energy efficiency rating, it tells you, and you can just say SEER tag, and it'll come up. And so we're going to put one up for you so you can see it. What does it mean? Well, they take an appliance, a refrigerator, or an air conditioner. They run it in the summer, the winter, the fall in the States, and they look at the average of how much energy it uses. And so let me give you an example. It goes from 10 to 50.
Okay.
10 is the gas guzzler, and 50 is the Honda Civic. And so when you buy that mini ductless, it looks the same. They're both 9,000 BTU. We know what that means. But one has pieces inside of it that'll suck electricity like a F-150. And the other one has things inside of it, the parts that make it, that are more expensive, but it will sip fuel like a Honda Civic. So one will burn plenty of electricity and one will burn about as much as a ceiling fan. Why did we not ban the ones that burn plenty fuel?
Florida just did.
In Florida, they ban 13 SEER.
Okay.
and they 10 SEER for sure, and they said, look, get the ones that burn less electricity, because then our generators don't have to be so big, and they don't fail and have blackouts and brownouts because they're not working hard. You see, the generators we have here in the Bahamas right now are too big for the needs of Nassau. If we were to get more efficient, if we were to put a solar water heater on every home, Leslie Miller told you, he said the water heaters in this island in your house burn 1/3 of your power. Can you believe that?
Are you aware, Graham, that in 1969 they built solar water heaters right through Chesapeake Road, right here down the road?
Well, we could lower our need at BPL by 1/3 by simply putting solar water heaters throughout this country. That's tons of jobs. There's your thousands of jobs right there, building them and installing them. You understand? But instead, we bring a water heater from away, plug it into electricity to heat water when we have all this sun that can heat it for free.
That's correct.
It just doesn't make sense. So by simply putting a solar water heater in every home and every one of any business, you would never have another blackout, because the generators would be too big instead of failing. And if you put solar on every home, right, you would then lower it by another 20%, your energy needs.
Well, right now we have at least 98% opportunity to improve expansion of solar. Earl DeVoe, some years ago, the environmental minister, he had a 20% target, said next couple of years, let's reach that point. We have not moved forward. In 2009, the Bahamas signed on to the Kyoto Accord in Copenhagen. It's a global warming conference.
Let me see that.
And our Prime Minister spoke at that conference, and which said that as the globe begins to warm, the Bahamas will be compromised more than many nations in the world. So we were given an opportunity to change the way we produce energy so that we could have carbon credits, Graham.
Right. Can I see that mouse again? I'll go back to yellow. I want to show you on this energy efficient guide here, so you understand what's going on exactly. And this is an old photo. If we can zoom in on that part up at the top where it says 15 SEER, and the bar just below it. If we could just zoom in on that part, you want to give me that? Yeah. So what happens is, if you look at a SEER rating, right? And this isn't that complicated, but it's so important because people need to understand what it means. See what it's saying here? It's saying that you're least efficient, right? The 10 SEER. And that has been banned in America because it would cause too much need for too much fuel, and it would cause blackouts if everybody ran those. Okay. So you see this one is 15 SEER. It was 10 is the least efficient.
Okay.
And when you come over here, you see 21 is the most efficient. But 21 SEER, the highest out now is 42 SEER, and it burns like a fan. And so if we were to say help Bahamians get these, right, it would cut back on any blackout. Remember all those 80 little generators?
Okay.
We would only need 20 of those. If we could make sure that these homes were efficient, if we could make sure that they had solar water heating.
Now remember, Graham, we only usually need air conditioning during the summer months. Many times, a couple of months during the winter, you may need no air conditioning because it's rather cool, especially during the evening time.
And that's why you see they don't need as much energy, and we always end up renting more generators, those 80 little generators. We want to rent more because of the summer. Why don't we, instead of renting more generators and burning more fuel, make it where Bahamians can get appliances that use less electricity? And if we become more efficient.
And bring them in duty free as well.
But of course, we need, see, these are discussions. I'll call the Minister of Environment. Maybe we'll get him on the show. And I'm giving him an official welcome, but I'll send something in writing, because we like writing, that we can discuss these things, because, you know, sometimes you get very busy as a minister, and so some of these things need to be brought to the attention. It's the same thing, you know, we should have almost no duty on scooters because they burn less fuel than an F-150, and more people on scooter, less traffic. But that's another story. We're talking energy efficiency, but let's move on because that'll be another show. And I do want to hit some more topics before we go. If we can pull up the other image.
You see, we have a lot of sun in the Bahamas, more than most nations of the world, and therefore, sun energy, solar energy should be the way to go.
No
we
excuse.
Shouldn't fall behind. We are way behind. There's an article in the Tribune and the Guardian addressing it this week, so it's very essential for us to just push for liberalizing the solar energy. We talked about liberalizing our communication network.
There. Yep.
I was talking about
solar should be 100% Bahamian owned, right? Solar should be 100% Bahamian owned. I want to do more shows on it, right? But we'll get to that. There's no way that we need maybe the U.S. or China or anyone to come to the Bahamas and sell us some sun that probably is, or Europe, that's more effective than our sun.
Emira, of course, out of Canada.
We don't need it.
They purchased 10% of the free Grand Bahama Port energy company, and then 80%, with the port now holding 10%. So a foreign Canadian company by the name of Emira. By the way, they own most of the electrical companies down in the Caribbean. Are you aware of that?
Well, we're not in the Caribbean, so I really don't care what happens in the Caribbean. I care about what happens in North America, where we spend most of our time as Bahamians.
But Emira is making a sweep, and the Bahamians are buying into it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we don't. Our energy security can be done by Bahamians, and it doesn't need one piece of foreign involvement or ownership.
How long have you had your energy supply here?
It's been almost 12 years now that I have not had any blackouts. I've not had any brownouts straight through the hurricane. And so it's not something that I'm guessing at. Mm-hmm. It's something that I've proven and I've lived.
It's cheaper now.
It's, it actually paid for itself in 3 years. Mm. So I've had, 9 years of no energy payment for the energy that I use. And so this could have been for every single Bahamian. And maybe one day we'll wake up and we'll get somebody that actually isn't beholding to big oil, that will say, look, put our foot down. You've made your money, you had a good run. It's time for us to look at lowering these light bills, lowering our environmental pollution, our carbon output, the smoke, and making sure that we have sustainable energy. So if there's a hurricane, or if someone decides not to sell us fuel, we still can have the lights on. But I want to just switch gears real quick and wrap up with this one. We see where there's a new company coming that's going to help Bahamians invest and buy stocks. What's sad is this is something we should be teaching in grade 11 and 12 at the end of school. Teaching young people how to invest, how to make money, how to play commodities, how to buy stocks smartly, instead of coming out and then buying a car and being enslaved with a payment. And then I see the Deputy Prime Minister saying central bank's role is going to help with the financial sector. But let me tell you something. Remove the restriction of exchange control. Allow Bahamians, anyone, if it's Bonefish Foley and he's friends with Donald Trump,
he's dead.
And Donald Trump wants to give him $1 million to do a bonefishing lodge, I do not see why we have to have so much restraint on Bahamians and very little on the foreigners, Jeff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are a country obviously stuck in the old mold of doing business because we advertise the Bahamas as a tax avoidance regime. And so we got into trouble for making that statement around the world. The Caymans are taking our lunch in that particular area right now. The Brits complain about the Bahamas vociferously, that the Bahamas, the way we did business in the financial service sector, was not fair and was not right, but they're allowing their colonies to do it.
Right.
So Britain, about 14 years ago, moved their embassy out of the Bahamas, and we didn't hear a peep about that. Took it to Jamaica and said to us, if you want to have anything to do with them, go to Jamaica, call Jamaica. So the Brits are a part of the conspiracy, I call it the Caribbean conspiracy ground, to make sure that the Bahamas depend on the Caribbean, and of course for labor, and of course for now running this financial services sector, we just catch up, we just follow along. We've been ahead, and now, Graham, we're falling behind because our central bank, the way it operates historically,
does not favor us.
Intimidated the Bahamians from
Yes.
doing international business. But now we talk about globalism, where we're inviting the world into our little nation to do
Right.
business with no restrictions.
Right.
How fast we can get the foreigner doing business, it would seems to be the order of the day.
But for us, it'll still be restrict.
Well, now according to
And
this,
we will pay the VAT. We will pay the all the environmental disposal fees. We'll pay all the increased fees on, say, licensing vehicles or whatever fee they come up with to compensate for the money that's not collected by duty.
well, I heard of a new idea for bringing business over the hill, over the the inner
Inner
city.
city.
While that is a far-fetched idea, we need to expand the economy where people can earn monies from their small businesses, and we can undergird our economy by expanding our fisheries resources, our manufacturing resources, and therefore remove the restrictions on Bahamians
For
so
trade.
that we can find partners in the world to do things within our nation itself. We appear to be on the outside looking in gradually, Graham. Bigger companies are coming in. The accounting firms are connecting with international accounting firms.
Real estate.
The real estates are doing, realtors are doing it. The people who own other type of franchise, they have a connection to the global world. And so there's a push. And we're being left behind because, as you said, there needs to be tremendous training in our schools. Each high school in the Bahamas should be a VOTech school,
Yes.
vocational technical school. And of course, I taught at one in Grand Bahama years ago when we had auto mechanics, we had hotel and catering, we had
And speaking of VOTech,
agriculture, we had
do-
marine biology, a
which is
number of
like,
things
BTVI, the
But
BTVI.
at high school level.
Do you realize, and I'm going to do a follow-up on this, the BTVI course on renewable energy on solar, right? In the past had 3 students and they canceled it. But we just canceled the one that had 22 students, a full class. They paid $500 each, you know.
Well, the island school in Lustra
Yes.
had a number of renewable energy courses, and they were running the school on the energy itself.
But it should be-
ethanol,
and biodiesel.
Biodiesel energy that they produce.
But
And
shouldn't,
of course,
shouldn't,
solar.
shouldn't we be offering any young people or electricians that want to know solar? I mean, people may not have the money right now. Shouldn't we be offering that course because it's so crucial for energy security? You find money, we find $70 million to pay off BPL workers. I mean, we can't find a few $1,000s to help young people learn energy security and solar so that they could come and help us fight these high light bills.
Well, as a teacher, I want to say right here that I went to high school. I got my GCEs. I went to Bahamas Teachers College. I was on a scholarship. Then I went away to university and came back with a bachelor's degree. Taught for 30 years. Are you aware that tree trimmers at BC earned more money than teachers? Tree trimmers. Let me repeat that.
Tree
if you look,
trimmers.
the tree trimmers at BEC, although sometimes a hazardous job, they earned more money than professional teachers. Are you aware of that, Graham?
No, why would we not focus on education?
Well, that's the key, that you want to ask that question over and over because there seems to be no answer. We seem to complain about education. We should be able to have a private sector solar energy teaching school and the public sector at BTVI because it's the way to go. New monies are in the industry, new training, new technology, new clean, green energy. It opens up a healthier lifestyle in the Bahamas, Graham.
Well, I'm gonna leave on that note because it's easy to fix this country with energy security. And Nassau is the easiest, and all the out islands with small settlements and small demand, you could solarize each settlement quite easily and
yes.
have them independent. And instead of trying to do a whole 100-mile island, just put the power source in each one of the settlements.
Yes.
So I hope you enjoyed our show, commercial free, and we'll see you again. And hopefully we can get the minister on to start telling us exactly some specifics on what we're doing. Have a good day.